Hello, crypto world! Welcome to the Chart Historian. My name is Justin, and on this channel, I delve deep into crypto charts, exploring chart structures, fractals, and patterns. So in this video, I'm going to show you why HBAR is about to go into its bull run structure. HBAR has a repetitive macro structure. We have been going through a sideways range-bound time for a while now, and it is getting near the end of that structure. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm at the beginning of the chart, and it is this part right here, and the black boxes, they go from 1 to 4. This is the sideways range-bound time. Now, this is the very first time it played out on the HBAR chart. These blue ones, this is actually the bull run structure. And it's been taking a while to go through this new range-bound time, but we are almost near the end of it. So, for the most part, I have copied these original structures over here at the very beginning, and I copy and pasted them over here. Now, for the exception of this third fractal, which was over here, this one was a better match. So let's zoom in and get a better look at this. Okay, so here we are, zoomed in. We're still on a day candle, believe it or not. So this is the first structure, and this structure basically acts, what I've called it in the past, it acts as a bridge going from the decline of the bull run into the sideways range-bound time. The essence of this structure is its three waves, wave 1, wave 2, and wave 3. In fractal 2, we have 2 waves, and again, this structure is from the very first time it played out on the HBAR chart. And fractal 3, it moves up, it moves back down again, it kind of crashes down, and then goes flat and sideways. Now, we are currently working through fractal 4, which it moves up, has this little, it's like 2 waves, wave 1 and wave 2. So we are nearing the completion of this structure. Once it begins to move up again, we enter into the first bull run structure. So what does the bull run look like? Let's take a look at that. Okay, so here we are at the very first iteration of the HBAR bull run, and it starts off with a move up. It's not very impressive. It does like a little shelf right here before moving up aggressively and coming to its first peak. The cool thing about the HBAR bull run is if you missed this one, you can always catch this one. And it depends. Sometimes this one is higher than this one. In this case, this one's the highest, but in other cases, this one's the highest. So it switches around. So that is a cool feature of the HBAR bull run. So it moves up, comes to a peak, it then declines, and then after this decline, it moves back up into the second peak. After this peak, through a series of bounces, it comes to its termination point before entering into the sideways range-bound time. Let's go to the most recent iteration of this bull run structure and examine it. Okay, so here we are at the most recent iteration of the HBAR bull run structure. Here we have that move up in part 1 where it does that little shelf or wave before moving up aggressively into the first peak. Now, there is something very important that you should understand about fractals or patterns when they repeat. So when a fractal repeats, the basic idea is copied over. However, the timing, the height, and the depth, those do not copy over. Those will always be original to that iteration. So what that means is you can have a fractal repeat on a much larger scale, or it can repeat on a much smaller scale. Or parts of a fractal can be larger or smaller than the original fractal that they're copying. Timing also is original. So something can take much longer to play out, or it can play out in a much smaller time frame. So all those things can make a iteration of a structure have an original appearance to it. But even with that veneer of originality, it is still repeating that same structure. And we see that here in this iteration as well. This one right here moved up in the first peak, but the second peak is the one that's taller. So the timing, height, and depth gave the liberty for this to move up higher than this one. And look at this. Talk about parts of a fractal moving up. This wave right here is just crazy high. I would say this is the actual proper peak, but this is actually the peak. So price moves back up, comes to a peak or a point, and then declines, and then through a series of bounces. This is way more defined because it took longer to play out. So the interesting thing about the most recent iteration of a fractal is charts tend to favor recent history. So I would not be surprised to see something similar to this iteration repeat again. Now, it's going to be original, but it may resemble this one. We'll have to see. It actually may not, but they tend to favor recent history many times. So let's jump forward to where we are now. So here we are, almost complete this fourth structure. Now, this fourth structure moves up, has two waves to it. It comes to a shelf, and then it moves up into the first structure over here. I don't know how long this will take to play out. I don't know how high this will go. We'll have to see how all that transpires once it begins to materialize. So remember, the timing, height, and depth are always going to be original. So it's something that we honestly don't know how it will materialize, but it will most likely do something similar to this, where it moves up, comes to a peak, and then pulls back, making a wave or a little shelf right here before moving up aggressively. So that is my update on the HBAR chart. And just remember, the cool thing is it has essentially two moves up that if you missed one, you were in another crypto when the first one came about, you can maybe catch the second one, or vice versa. I recorded a video where I deep dive into the macro structure of the HBAR chart. You can watch that right here. It's well worth watching it if you are not familiar with the HBAR chart. If this is your first introduction to HBAR's repetitive structure, I highly recommend watching this video. I'm not a financial advisor, so none of this should be considered financial or investment advice. If you did enjoy this type of technical analysis and you're not yet a subscriber, I recommend hitting that subscribe button. I will continue to follow up on this chart as it continues to develop. This is original technical analysis. You're not going to find it anywhere else. For those of you who would like to join my Discord, I have a Patreon page. You can find that at patreon.com/charthistorian. In that Discord, we discuss different cryptos. So if you would like to see more of this type of technical analysis and be able to discuss what's going on charts, I recommend joining my Patreon. I'm so glad you caught this video. I hope you catch my next one. Have a great day, and bye for now.